Hey, good evening, and thank you for joining us on the Scabbard tonight. Action-packed show tonight as we got a lot of stuff to cover, World Juniors action, and Buffalo Sabres got a win last night. Amazing. Can't believe they did it. But I'm not too hyped about the win because, and we'll get into the Columbus game review in a little bit, but should have won that game. Should have played really well. And controlled the play. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Mighty Taco jersey that I got a couple weeks ago. Love it. It's awesome. Mighty Taco. All right. So as always, feel free to drop your questions and comments in the chat. Be happy to discuss them during the show. And with that, we'll open up the chat for everyone to pop into if you are so inclined. Um, let's let's hit the World Juniors. The round robin is now over. We're moving on to the medal round. Day off tomorrow. I believe the second is when the quarterfinal games start. Actually, let's hit the biggest news for the Buffalo Sabres today, and that is that Eric Comrie was waived. At this point, not a surprise. He was the odd man out amongst the three goaltenders. I still do think that Devin Levi needs a little bit of time in Rochester just to develop his game with less pressure than what's going on in the NHL. But he's played so well since he came back up that there you can't send him down compared to what Eric Comrie's provided the Sabres. And Eric Comrie's been kind of snake bit since he's joined the Sabres. Started out okay last year. Had a good run, then got injured and was never able to find his game after he got injured. And then Luukkonen kind of took over the net midway through the season, and when Comrie was able to finally come back, that's when Devin Levi started to show up, and there really was, there's only one net. So this season started out. He's just never found his rhythm this season. In his last, what, 6 starts, the Sabres have lost and just has not looked good. Worst save percentage, goals against average uh, for a goaltender in those 6 starts. So that since that first win that he got. But it's finally nice to have some closure on this issue with 3 goaltenders. Um, you got to feel for a guy like Eric Comrie. I think he's a good player. He's just that once he's yeah, once he got established last season, he got injured and couldn't come back. This season, he's just never been able to establish himself. Plus, having 3 goaltenders, you having to rotate 3 goaltenders in and out of the lineup couldn't develop a rhythm. And even as a career backup to Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg, he just never, he didn't get the consecutive, at least appearances on the bench that he was used to in his career. Um, maybe he goes down to Rochester and finds his game, and maybe the Sabres can move him at the trade deadline, or if there is an injury in Buffalo, they can bring him back up. Although I do believe he faces re-entry waivers, which means the team can claim him again during that period. So. Um, we'll just see what happens with him. Also placed on waivers today, embattled Toronto netminder Ilya Samsonov was put on waivers after just some brutal starts, including that 9-4 loss to Buffalo. Um, yeah, I mean, not much else to say for that guy. He's had a really rough, especially last month of the season. Um, uh, Keeping a fairly talented uh, a Toronto team in front of him from losing. So as talented as they are, they couldn't outscore him. And you know, uh, you're not going to survive long in Toronto if you're giving up 6 goals, 7 goals, 9 goals, that type of stuff. So, let's see. World Junior Hockey Championship. So the big news today is that USA has officially won Pool B after beating the Slovaks. They dismantled them. It was 10-2 was the final score there. Sweden loses their game, but they still won Pool A, so they'll host the 4th place finisher in Pool B in the quarterfinals. So the day 6 scores, final day of the round robin. U.S. beat Slovakia 10-2, as I mentioned. Finland, uh, who had been down most of the round robin, was able to get a goal win against Latvia, and then they got the win against the Swedes today in a shootout. Noah Ostlund did get a goal in that, or I'm sorry, he got 2 assists in that game, but did fail in the shootout. Um, Czechia got a 4-2 victory over Switzerland to secure 3rd place in the group, and they will face off against Canada. We'll talk about the quarterfinal matchups here in a minute. Didn't get the Canada Germany game updated, but it ended up 6-3 Canada. It was a very close game, very entertaining game. Um, uh, Connor Geeky, the line mate of Matt Savoy, was kicked out of the game 11 seconds into the game for a check to the head. Um, Germany scored on the power play, and really it was kind of the story of the game was that Germany and Canada would trade the lead. Got to 3-3, about 10 minutes left in the game, and Canada finally scored to take it over. They ended up scoring 2 additional goals. So Canada won that game. Germany, despite beating Finland in the first game, is now in the relegation group. So let's take a look at Pool A. Sweden won the group. Um, Even if they had lost that game to Finland straight out, and then Canada, of course, beating Germany, still would have won the group based on the head-to-head victory against Sweden. Finland winning today really put Germany in a tough spot. Um, if Finland had lost today, in regulation, then it would have been a three-way tie at the bottom, 1-0 and 3 records, or 1-0-0 and 3 records. And then it would have gone to goal differential, and I think Germany survives and Latvia would have gone to the relegation. But because Finland won that game, they moved into third place on their own. Latvia, by virtue of beating Germany yesterday 6-2, gets that fourth place spot. So they survive for another year in the top flight. And Germany now has a 1-game playoff on Thursday to fight for its World Junior Hockey Championship survival at the top flight. Pool B, U.S. won that pool with a 3-1. That second one is a overtime win, which is only 2 points versus the 3 points for a win. Slovakia 3-0-0-1 due to the loss to the United States. They finished second. Czechia 2-0-1-1. Get to face Canada in that second round or in the quarterfinal round. Switzerland, by beating Norway, got ensured their survival in the top flight, and we'll get a tough game against the Swedes on Tuesday. So, and then Norway, of course, goes to the relegation round. It is, I mean, if you're going to rank the teams on paper, Germany has the advantage. But it's a 1-game thing, and your goaltender comes out and they're awful. You could be playing in Group 1A next season, trying to get back up into the top flight division. Germany had a really tough time last time they got relegated out of the World Junior Hockey Championships, getting back. They've been back about 5 years now. And they've got a talented junior hockey program. They got talented players that are coming up. I mean, you look at guys like Tim Stützle, we'll be seeing tonight against the Ottawa Senators. JJ Peterka for the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, they're producing good players. They just haven't gotten to that point where they are a comfortable team in the World Junior Hockey Championships. They're always fighting. So they'll be fighting for their top flight lives on Thursday against the Norwegians. Norwegians also, haven't ever had a first round draft pick in the NHL draft and will likely have 2 in this upcoming draft. So there's some talent on that Norwegian team. They've scored a few goals in this tournament. They scored against the Americans, scored 4 against the Czechs. So they do have some goal scoring prowess. Whether they can keep the puck out of their net is the question here for the Norwegians going into that relegation game. Let's take a look at the prospects that are playing for the Buffalo prospects that are playing in the tournament. We've got Anton Wahlberg. Didn't score a ton. Only got the 1 goal in that first game, the first power play, the first goal for Sweden in this tournament against Latvia. Did play skate +4, stayed on the top line the entire time. He skates well. He plays well. Actually is a bigger player than Noah Ostlund. But, again, this season is getting his feet wet in the World Junior Hockey Championship. Next season, he's going to be leading this team. So, looking forward to seeing his development. I assume that he's going to play another season in Sweden and continue to grow his game there before coming over to North America. That means he'll be playing in that World Junior Hockey Championship when it comes over to Ottawa next season. So for Noah Ostlund, Ostlund finished the round robin with 2 goals and 4 assists in 4 games. Sorry, had 2 assists tonight against the Finns on the first 2 goals, but he missed his opportunity in the shootout as the Finns won that shootout. Sweden's quarterfinal matchup. They're playing Latvia as they won the group. They get to take on the Latvians in the quarterfinals. I believe on Tuesday. So, Sweden's always had a really good run at round robin play. It's in the medal rounds where they struggle, and usually it's later in the medal rounds. Kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So I anticipate they beat the Latvians in this game and move on to the next round. But it's going to be a tough run for them because you still got the Canadians, you still got the Czechs, you still got the Finns are still in there that they beat them today. So I'm sure the ghosts will not be exercised until the gold medal game's over and that they win the gold medal. For the Canadians, Matt Savoy, big news for the Canadians is that he was injured in that Sweden game, got a lower body injury, had an MRI in Gothenburg, and was out today. They're gonna have to make a decision on the medal rounds whether to call up another player to replace him in the lineup. So it's been kind of a nightmare tournament for me. He hasn't really gotten his offensive game going. Only has one assist. He is +2 in the round robin. But it's been a tough go for him, and be interested to see what the injury status is moving forward. If they have to replace him, that means he's going to be out for at least a week. So is this a longer term injury or whether it's just a day to day type thing for Matt Savoy? But it's been kind of a disappointing tournament for him so far. For the other Canadian representative, Scott Ratzlaff, still has not dressed for Canada in any of their games, and I don't anticipate he will unless there's illness or injury, and then he might back up a couple of games. So, but that's about it. Again, it's for next season. It's next tournament is for Scott Ratzlaff. He'll be one of the top two goaltenders for Canada moving forward. Their final matchup is against Czechia. It's a tough matchup. I mean, you've got Juraj Kulik playing there, Edward Saleh. The Czechs have a really good lineup. I think they've underperformed to a bit in this tournament. Um, they should have gotten past Switzerland a lot easier than they did. Um, but that's what Switzerland does. They've played their teams really close and have a really good defensive system. But Czechia can give Canada a lot of problems, and I'm not really sold on what Canada's doing in this tournament. They have really, they're winning. I'm not going to say that they suck or anything like that, but they had problems with the Germans. They couldn't get anything going with the Swedes. Um, yeah, they pumped. Let's see, they pumped, Latvia, pretty good, but, not unexpected. They beat the Finns. It's not been an impressive it's not like one of these juggernaut teams that we've seen from Canada from time to time. So, I'm not surprised they haven't won that Sweden game wrong. Just noticing Sweden is actually gonna play Switzerland in the first, quarterfinal matchup on this one. That's actually Switzerland that they're gonna play. Canada getting the Czechia game. That should be very interesting. I'll be glued to that one when the puck drops on that game. Speaking of Czechia, let's talk about Juraj Kulik. He's got 4 goals, 7 assists, +2 in the round robin. He was factored in the win over the Swiss with a assist on the first goal for the Czechs, and then scored the game winner with about 7 minutes left today. So one of the top scorers in the tournament, and he's also now with that goal the top goal scorer in the history of the World Junior Hockey Championships with Czechia. So think of all the players that have played with the Czechs over the years, your Jagers, even back to the Czechoslovakian days. He is now the top scoring player for Team Czechia. So good on him. And the World Junior that's in the World Junior Hockey Championships. Of course, we're talking about the game next time we convene the Czechia versus Canada game. Uh, we should be actually close to the semifinals by the time the next Scabbard goes on with the game against Montreal. Maxim Strebak had like most of his Slovakian teammates, he had a kind of a rough go with the American game. It was a pretty tight game. The first period was a 2-1 deficit going into the first intermission. The Americans scored a couple goals in that second period, and then really opened it up in the third period. It was a tough day. He was a -3, but he's still tied for the top defenseman scoring in the tournament with 1 goal and 5 assists. That -3 dropped him to a +2 for the round robin. And then finishing second, they get to third place team in Pool A. So they'll be taking on the Finns. The Finns are starting to hit their stride a little bit. So, I mean, I think they're going to be flying after beating Sweden in the final game. They've restored a little bit of confidence for the Finns. But and a tough loss for the Slovakians in getting blown out like that. We have to wonder how that's going to impact their psyche going forward. They've overachieved in this tournament to an extent. I thought the Czechs were a little bit stronger going into the tournament, They did beat them. They ran out to 3 straight wins and then just ran into a hot, US team. I think the US I still think the US team is the favorite to win this tournament, and, they did nothing to abuse me of that opinion. Um, so we'll move on to that. Finally, for Norwin Panoka, he skated well. I watched a lot of that Canada German game between football highlights and stuff. The Germans held tight with the Canadians for about 50 minutes. The Canadians would score a goal, the Germans would respond. He did end up on -1. There was a spectacular goal by Macklin Celebrini, that made it 5-3. He was a little late on the back check trying to get back to cover the net. The goalie went for a swim like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, in that Rangers game. Um, uh and was out of his net. And I have no idea what he was doing in that play, but um, uh, Pinoca couldn't get back and block the shot, and Celebrini scored. And I mean, it was a really good goal. It was a interesting angle that he shot at and got it. But so Germany, now finishing fifth in the pool, will go to the relegation game January 4th against Norway. It's a one game thing. It used to be like a 2 or 3 game series. Um, for the relegation. So Norway, one game, anything can happen, and both teams are going to have to bring their A game, or they're going to end up skating in the early December tournament for Group 1A, trying to get back. So let's take a look at my predictions for the groups. I said before the tournament, I thought Sweden was going to win Pool A, with Canada finishing second, Finland third, and Germany fourth, and had Latvia going to the relegation game. I was wrong on the Latvia. They got the fourth place by virtue of beating Germany. So Latvia is now fourth. They're going into the next round playing the United States in that quarterfinal game. I was way wrong on the predictions for the round robin in Pool B. I had the U.S. winning the pool, which was right. The Czechs finishing second; they finished third. Switzerland, I had finishing third; they ended up finishing fourth, and the Slovaks getting up to second in actuality versus my prediction. I did get the fact that Norway would go to the relegation game. That was a pretty good, easy pick. It's easy to pick the newly promoted team to go back down. That toughest year for a newly promoted team is the first year going up, because usually you have some talent that ends up getting drafted off of your team, that gets you promoted up into the or the talent that brought you up into 1A ages out of the tournament. So, um, but yeah, Norway still has a chance. I'm not going to say that they're prohibitive underdogs against the Germans, but I would favor the Germans in this game. But I do think both teams are going to play really hard in this game to avoid relegation. Um, let's see. All right, let's talk about tonight's or last night's game, the Blue Jackets game. I'm not overly hyped about the victory. I mean, I'm happy that they won. They got the win in overtime. Jeff Skinner scoring in overtime. They did fight back twice. Um, uh, it was just, they controlled play the whole night. Like, I didn't feel like they were, awful all night, but they had, 2 really bad mental lapses. Bad final minute goal, um, and then the Fantilli goal in the late of the second, off of, just another failed Sabres power play and a bad decision by Rasmus Dahlin at the point. And Danforth streaks down the ice and makes an absolutely phenomenal pass to Adam Fantilli for the goal to put us down 2-1 going into the second intermission. Casey Middlestat firing the goal. I mean, the cool thing about the Sabres last night is that, I think they were frustrated. You couldn't play that game and not be frustrated, but they kept on coming. They didn't allow their frustration to impact their gameplay. Um, they kept shooting, kept firing the puck, even though Daniil Tarasov is a glorified AHL goalie. I'm not even sure he's really that adept at the AHL level. And they made him look like Martin Brodeur last night. And but they kept coming. They kept firing the puck. They didn't let frustration in fact impact their game. They got it tied on the middle stat goal. Would have loved to have seen them win in regulation. You know, we're not going to be competing with Columbus for a playoff spot. Um, but you know, they did get it in overtime, and this game could have ended very differently. The face off, there was a face off down in the Buffalo zone. Tage Thompson, it's the group that scores the goal. Tage Thompson thinks he gets, I don't know, clipped or interfered with on the face off, complains to the ref. Well, all the while, uh, Danforth streaks down the ice and fires the puck. I don't know if Luukkonen gets a piece of it or it goes over the net, but then you know, Sabres get the puck, move it down, power to, or I'm sorry, Thompson to power to Jeff Skinner. And it's in the back of the net. The Sabres win. But, you know, if Tage Thompson, you know, goes from starting to play, you know, starting the winning play, but he could have very much been the dog of this night because of spending time complaining to a ref rather than playing the game and staying with his man. But Sabres get the win, much needed victory. And it's going to start a month where they play very winnable games. And nothing's guaranteed this season. We've seen it with Buffalo. There's nothing guaranteed, um, but there's a lot of games coming up, especially on the 6 game homestand against teams that have been struggling this season as well. Um, this 3 game road trip, we're playing Montreal, we're playing Pittsburgh. These are teams that we need to leapfrog over. So there should be some motivation there to play. We're also going to have some time off between this Ottawa game and the Montreal game, and you know, then we go to Pittsburgh. We got to take care of business against the Penguins, figure out a way to beat them, and then you know, we come home for 6 straight games. And these are all, you know, uh, now I'll mention that we have Seattle coming up on the schedule, and they're playing much better, and also that we've never beaten Seattle. They're you know, 2 prior seasons in the league, we were 0-4 against them. So will be nice to see us win that game. Uh, I think in that 6 game homestand, they have to go 5-1, and I think they need to win. It would be nice if they can win all 3 games on this road trip, but if they go 2-1 on this road trip, that sets us up. That's, you know, 7 wins in 9 games. And, that's, you know, that's stacking points. That's 14 more points. But if you look at the mountain the Sabres have to climb, if you think 95 points is probably where you wanna be, at the end of the season at minimum to guarantee playoffs, then, you know, we're at 34 right now. So we need 61 more points over roughly the half of the season remaining. So, um, they have their work cut out for them this month. If they can take care of business, and even the West Coast road trip at the end of the month, you know, you got Anaheim that you should be able to beat. You got the Sharks that you should be able to beat. Um, you know, we could have a really great month and get ourselves back into the playoff conversation by the end of the month. Um, if not, then we're heading towards the trade deadline as sellers, and the Boo Birds will still be out in the arena for that. So, stat of the night is something we have to overcome. The Sabres are 1-9-4 in games following a win this season. That has to change. They've got to stop this streak of losing games after winning a game. They've only won 1 game after winning, and they need to reverse that trend if they want this season to go any better than it's been going. All right, let's talk about the Ottawa Senators game preview tonight. They're 13, 18-0 on the season, last in the Atlantic, but they've only played 32 games this season. So they have 6 games in hand on the Buffalo Sabres. Um, or this is their 32nd. So they've got 6 games in hand or 7 games in hand to get on the Sabres. So, you know, like a dozen, 14 points in hand on the Buffalo Sabres. We're only 6 points ahead of them in the standings right now. Keith Kachuk leads in goals. Stutzla leads in assists and points. They've had really bad goaltending. It's just disappointed. Anton Forsberg was supposed to be their guy. They also brought in Jonas Corposalo, who played well for the Kings last season after being traded from Columbus. But their team save percentage is 896, and their goals against average is 3.58. Uh, sorry, let me just cough here a second. There we go. So yeah, the goaltending has struggled, and it doesn't really matter who's playing. The struggles go for each player. And yes, the Senators have a lot of games in hand on the Buffalo Sabres, but the problem is the last 3.5 months of this season are gonna be incredibly busy for the, Senators. They play the fewest games in the NHL, and that's gotta change. They're gonna be doing back-to-backs and playing games, every other night like the Sabres did throughout all of, December and, last half of November and all of December playing, essentially every other night. Um, that's what the Senators' season is gonna look like from here on out. The Senators projected forward lines for this game. We've got Kachuk, Norris, and Giroux on the first line. Tarasenko, Stutzla, Batherson on that second line. Kubalik, Grieg, and Kelly on the third line, and Smekal, Kestelik, and McEwen on the on the fourth line. Their defense pairings are Sanderson, Shabbat, Jacob Chikrin, and Travis Hamonic, Eric Brandstrom, and Artem Zub on the third pairing. And not sure who's starting for the Senators. It's either Korpisalo or Forsberg. I believe it's Korpisalo tonight. And the scratches for the Senators. Shane Pinto is still suspended. Was suspended half the season for gambling. I don't even think that he's signed a contract yet. I mean, there's like he was out of the team for not signing a, contract, and now he is, suspended, so I'm wondering if they get the contract situation resolved over by the time his suspension ends. Alright, Sabres projected forward lines, Skinner, Thompson, Tuck, Peterka, Cousins, Quinn, Greenway, Middlestat, Benson, and welcome back, Zemgus Girgensons. The Comrie, waivers allowed the Sabres to activate him. He'll be in the lineup, on the fourth line with Krebs and Okposo. So the band is back together on that fourth line. The, defense pairings, Darlene Samuelson, Power Yoki Haru, and then Ryan Johnson, Connor Clifton. They hinted, at the final presser before the game, which happened just before the show started, that there might be some changes on the defense pairings, so don't hold me to these, defense pairings. These are just projections. And then tonight, since Luukkonen played last night, we're looking at Devin Levi in nets tonight, to, face the Senators. Sabre scratches, yeah, I got this wrong. Eric Robinson is coming out. He played last night. And then Olafson looks like he's going to be a scratch, and Eric Johnson will be scratched again if the everything holds. Tonight's odds per DraftKings. Play responsibly. Buffalo is a 1.5 goal underdog with an over under of 7. So they're expecting some goals to be scored tonight. Sabres played them earlier this season, and there was a kind of a barn burner. The Sabres got out to a rather healthy lead before Ottawa came back. I think it was a 5-4 game. And that's how that game ended. So I do believe that there will be some goals scored. Um, Hopefully, Levi outplays either Korpisalo or Forsberg, and hopefully we see both goaltenders. That's always good. Keys to the game: manage energy. So, like Columbus last night, they're traveling after playing an overtime game, um, getting an overtime win. Coming into Ottawa, so they should have a little bit of fire in the beginning of the game, but they have to manage their energy. Um, you don't want to get out to a fast start like they did last game and then try and hold on at the end of the game, because you're dog tired from the previous night's game. Keep pressure on the goalies. The goalies have proven to be the weak link on this team, and if they can continue to keep shooting and keep driving offensive forward, if they continue to play offense like they did last night, they should be great. So keep shooting, keep firing the puck at the net, keep making the big thing is keeping the puck on the net. Don't just pepper the back glass and the back boards. Just make the goalie make the saves, make them give up rebounds, and work like dogs getting to the front of the net to scoop in a rebound. All right, on this date, December 31st, 1987, the Sabres traded Paul Sear and a 10th round pick in 1988 to the Rangers for a 5th round pick Well, there was another player. I can't remember the guy's name, but there was another player. But the fifth round pick turned into Alexander Mogilny. So happy Alexander Mogilny Day. At least the pick acquisition day for him. A few years later, Alexander McGillney played his 300th game on December 31st. So I'm sure that was a Tux and Pucks night, and that they should bring that back. All right, on the farm, Amherst are 14, 12, 2 and 1, fifth in the AHL North. They needed 8 rounds of a shootout to beat Utica. And 3-2, Jost with another goal, Weiss back with a shootout winner. They play Cleveland, the Columbus Blue Jackets, top farm team on Friday. So they're off till Friday after getting another victory on the season, kind of stemming the tide from a couple losses there, but still fifth in the AHL North. The Jacksonville Icemen are 15, 10 and 3. They haven't played since we last had a show yesterday. They are playing tomorrow. They played today. They're playing Cincinnati. Uh, so that's the New York Rangers ECHL affiliate. I think it's at the same time as this game. So um, we'll check out what's going on there. There is a Sabres prospect or a former prospect that's playing on the Iceman. So I'll have to get that name and we'll talk about him next time. The week ahead, the Montreal Canadiens game on the 4th. So we got a few days off after this game. So not only managing energy, but getting into that third period, you can empty the tank. You got a few days off between now and the next game. Montreal on the 4th, and then Pittsburgh on January 6th on the Saturday. Great news about the Columbus win is that we finally broke the streak of losing on Saturdays. We can, we beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-4 on a Saturday, November 4th, and we had lost every Saturday game ever since. So it was nice to finally get that streak broken. Maybe we can get the streak broken of not winning back-to-back games tonight. But our next episode is Thursday at 6 p.m. versus the Montreal Canadiens. Again, I appreciate everybody watching tonight, whether you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Just send us a like, share, subscribe, whatever you're doing. Appreciate you watching, and we will talk to you all on Thursday night. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's get another win. Yes. There we go. Let's get another win going into the new year. Have a good one, everybody, and we'll talk to you all on Thursday.